In the late 1990s, Disneyland set out to create a spectacular that would redefine evening entertainment at the park. With the beloved Main Street Electrical Parade taking its final bow, all eyes were on its ambitious successor, Light Magic. Promising cutting-edge technology, dazzling floats, and an unforgettable experience, it seemed destined to shine. But when the lights came on, the dream quickly faded. What went wrong? How did this $20 million show become one of Disney's most infamous failures? And what legacy did it leave behind? This is the story of Light Magic, Disneyland's bold attempt to create the next big thing that never quite found its spark.
Disneyland makes the night come alive with light magic. Come see this majestic spectacular of light and sound. It will fill you with wonder, like nothing you've ever experienced. Every night, Light Magic, only at Disneyland Park.
In the 1970s, Disneyland was at a crossroads. Walt Disney World had just opened in Florida, capturing the spotlight with its sprawling size and state-of-the-art attractions. For the first time, Disneyland seemed to be playing second fiddle. The park needed something to reassert its position as the premier destination for Disney magic. The solution? A new nighttime spectacle that would dazzle parkgoers. The concept of a nighttime light show wasn't entirely new. In 1971, Walt Disney World introduced the electrical water pageant. This simple yet charming display featured a series of flat, illuminated barges drifting across the Seven Seas Lagoon, accompanied by an electronic soundtrack. With themes ranging from sea creatures to patriotic imagery, the show became an unexpected hit with guests. The success of the electrical water pageant showed the potential for nighttime entertainment driven by synchronized lights and music. Disneyland saw an opportunity to adapt this idea to a more ambitious format, one that could move through its streets rather than float on water. In 1972, Disneyland borrowed inspiration from the electrical water pageant to create the Main Street Electrical Parade. The concept wasn't groundbreaking, but it had potential. Development was fast-paced and driven by necessity. With limited resources and time, Disney used an existing musical score and temporary workers who would hand-tint 500,000 bulbs. Using a single piece of music, the now iconic Baroque hoedown, as its score, the parade was designed to enchant audiences with glowing floats featuring popular Disney characters. The initial parade, however, was modest. Some floats were essentially flat screens mounted on manually pushed rolling platforms. Despite its simplicity, it charmed guests and proved popular enough to warrant further investment. By 1977, the parade underwent significant upgrades. New floats were introduced, replacing the earlier flat screens with three-dimensional designs. These improvements elevated the parade's visual appeal, and by this time, it had firmly established itself as a cornerstone of Disneyland's nighttime offerings. While the Main Street Electrical Parade had been developed quickly, its enduring popularity with guests proved its value. Yet, Disneyland's entertainment teams continued to see it as a stepping stone rather than an enduring classic. Despite its humble beginnings, the Main Street Electrical Parade became an integral part of Disneyland's identity. It captured the imagination of generations of parkgoers with its vibrant visuals and infectious soundtrack, leaving lasting memories. However, its rushed development also highlighted what could be accomplished with proper time and resources. By the 1980s and early 1990s, the creative team's successes with other projects emboldened them to dream bigger. They realised that with a larger budget and a longer development timeline, Disneyland's evening entertainment could be elevated further. Adding to the competitive spirit was the debut of SpectroMagic at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom in 1991. This new nighttime parade utilised updated lighting technology, showcasing a level of innovation that set a new standard for nighttime entertainment. The creative team at Disneyland took note, inspired by the possibilities that new technology could offer. In 1992, Disneyland premiered Fantasmic, a groundbreaking nighttime show staged along the rivers of America. Combining live performances, pyrotechnics, water projections, and a loose storyline, Fantasmic was an instant success. It showcased what was possible when creativity, technology, and storytelling were given the time and resources to flourish. The success of Fantasmic reinforced the idea that Disneyland's nighttime entertainment could evolve beyond parades and simple light shows. It demonstrated that guests were eager for immersive experiences that blended cutting-edge technology with compelling narratives. With Fantasmic raising the bar, Disneyland's entertainment teams began to look towards the future. The Main Street Electrical Parade had become a beloved tradition, but after decades of operation, it began to feel outdated compared to the innovation showcased in Fantasmic. Behind the scenes, plans were forming for a replacement. A bold and ambitious project that would attempt to redefine nighttime entertainment at Disneyland. The creative team, emboldened by the lessons learned from the parade and the success of Fantasmic, believed they could deliver something truly extraordinary. Disneyland's entertainment staff grew increasingly vocal about replacing the long-running Main Street Electrical Parade. To them, the parade, though beloved, was a relic of the 1970s. Its dated twinkle lights and aging floats felt uninspired compared to what Disney's creative team was capable of achieving. For years, entertainment had been pushing to create a new nighttime spectacular that could truly shine as a modern masterpiece. Disneyland's management finally agreed to the idea in late 1994. However, timing was critical. The park's long-range plans were already in place. With Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye set to open in 1995, and the much-anticipated Tomorrowland refurbishment scheduled for 1998, the next viable window fell between those years. The plan was set. The Main Street Electrical Parade would take its final bow in 1996, followed by the debut of its replacement in the summer of 1997. This timeline allowed for a farewell season that celebrated the legacy of the Electrical Parade, while building anticipation for something entirely new. As Disneyland's entertainment staff began to work on their ambitious replacement, they looked to Walt Disney World and Tokyo Disneyland, both of which had recently retired their versions of the Main Street Electrical Parade. However, what they found was less than inspiring. Florida's SpectroMagic and Tokyo's Fantalusion largely adhered to the same formula as its predecessor. Both parades relied heavily on twinkle light technology, with updated effects like fibre optics and blacklight. Though these updates were impressive, the overall approach was more a refinement rather than a reinvention. This didn't align with Disneyland Entertainment's aspirations. Updating the Main Street Electrical Parade might satisfy audiences temporarily, but it lacked the bold creativity they wanted to showcase. As Michael Maines, then Director of Creative Development, put it, "We feel a real obligation to invent and create new forms of entertainment." Initially, the project was conceived as an extension of the ambitious Tomorrowland 2055 overhaul, a futuristic reimagining of Tomorrowland that was ultimately shelved due to budget constraints. Tomorrowland 2055 sought to transform the area into a futuristic hub filled with alien visitors and intergalactic wonders. Light Magic was initially envisioned as a whimsical procession of these alien visitors making their way through Disneyland. The Tomorrowland project's focus on cutting-edge technology and innovation left a lingering influence on the parade's early development. Entertainment staff explored advanced lighting techniques, consulting with experts on everything from liquid light to neon. Their eventual choice was fibre optics, which offered dynamic possibilities for synchronised choreography and theatrical effects. However, as plans were shelved, Light Magic evolved into something quite different. Creating a worthy successor to the Main Street Electrical Parade was no small feat. How do you top 41 floats stretching over a quarter of a mile with a theme song beloved by generations? Especially when you have 18 months to deliver a finished show. Disneyland's entertainment team decided to borrow elements from past successes. The idea was to combine familiar components into something fresh and exciting. For years, guests had been asking for opportunities to meet Tinkerbell, so the entertainment team made her friends central figures in the show. Light Magic offered a solution by incorporating Tinkerbell alongside Disney characters, bringing them to life in a whimsical nighttime setting. The Main Street Electrical Parade had proven that guests love nighttime parades, with dazzling lights and catchy music. So Light Magic would also feature illuminated floats, with memorable tunes and a dramatic climax, where Disneyland itself would be sprinkled with glowing pixie dust. The 35th anniversary parade Party Gras demonstrated the appeal of parades that stop for guest interaction and a short show ending in a shower of confetti. Light Magic incorporated similar interactive moments, and Fantasmic had shown the power of projected visuals and storytelling, thus Light Magic would include movie screens and magical transformations. Compounding the creative chaos was Disney CEO Michael Eisner's fascination with Riverdance, the Irish step dancing phenomenon. After seeing the show at Radio City Music Hall, Eisner suggested incorporating similar elements into Light Magic. Soon, the production featured fairies performing step dances with Celtic-inspired music. While Eisner's suggestion was well-intentioned, it pushed Light Magic further from its original vision. With these core ideas in place, a parade featuring fibre-optic lighting and incorporating dramatic stops for immersive performances, the entertainment team set out to craft a groundbreaking new show. It would be unlike anything guests had seen before, blending technology, music and storytelling into a dazzling nighttime street-tacular. As the development for Light Magic progressed, the vision for the show started to evolve. The concept of a traditional parade was quickly abandoned in favour of something more ambitious and unique, a street-tacular. Rather than a procession of floats moving along a set path and stopping briefly for a show or single song, Light Magic would feature rolling stages that would travel through the park, stopping at designated locations to offer extended performances. However, the transformation came with significant challenges. One of the major hurdles was the cost and complexity of installing the necessary infrastructure to support such a grand vision. Unlike a typical parade, which could make use of the existing infrastructure, Light Magic would require major changes to the park's layout. The weight of the rolling stages, which would be much heavier than traditional floats, necessitated the replacement of painted asphalt with coloured concrete, capable of supporting the weight of the 80-foot-long structures. In addition to the modifications to the pavement, the park needed to accommodate the show in a way that would allow guests to enjoy it from multiple vantage points. This led to the creation of tiered viewing areas near It's a Small World, where guests could get a better look at the performances. To further enhance the experience, towers were constructed to hold show equipment like lights and projectors. On Main Street, the buildings themselves were given a significant technological upgrade. Retrofitting was undertaken to install fibre optics and projectors into the facades, turning the area into an immersive part of the show. These additions allowed Light Magic to blend seamlessly with the existing architecture, making the entire street part of the spectacle. However, the massive amount of construction and infrastructure changes meant that only 2 locations in the park would have the necessary setup to display the full show. While development for Light Magic was underway, Disneyland guests were preparing to say goodbye to one of the park's most beloved attractions, the Main Street Electrical Parade. After over 2 decades of lighting up the night, the parade was given a grand farewell season in 1996, complete with a massive marketing campaign that drew in crowds like never before. Dubbed Glowing Away Forever, the campaign capitalised on nostalgia and the emotional connection fans had to the parade. Guests who had experienced the parade as children returned with their own families to see it one last time. Commemorative merchandise was everywhere, from t-shirts to pins, and even light bulbs from the iconic floats were sold to collectors as keepsakes. A televised special highlighted the parade's history and significance, further fueling excitement. The response was overwhelming. Originally scheduled to conclude on October 15th, demand was so high that Disneyland extended the parade's run by over a month, finally ending its nightly performances on November 25, 1996. On that emotional final night, enormous crowds lined the parade route to bid a heartfelt farewell to a piece of Disneyland history. The park framed this as the parade's final public performance ever. The closing season was not just a nostalgic farewell, but a financial success for Disneyland. The massive influx of visitors helped make 1996 a record-breaking year. In the Walt Disney Company's annual report, then CEO Michael Eisner noted that Disneyland had its best year ever, thanks in a large part to the Main Street Electrical Parade's grand send-off. While fans lamented the loss of a classic, Disneyland promised something new and exciting in its place, Light Magic, set to debut in 1997. The future seemed bright, even as the park turned out the lights on one of its most cherished traditions. Even before the Main Street Electrical Parade had gone dark for the last time, the marketing for Light Magic was in full swing. Disneyland was determined to make the Street-tacular its next big success, building anticipation months in advance, with numerous advertisements, merchandise and special events. The marketing campaign began with splashy promotions that appeared in print, on television and across radio. Yet despite the extensive effort, the messaging proved confusing to many. Light Magic was subtitled A Spectacular Journey, a phrase that suggested a moving parade, a stark contrast to what was actually being developed. Nonetheless, Disneyland spared no expense in generating buzz. Merchandise celebrating Light Magic began appearing in warehouses well before the show's debut. The park stocking up on everything from collectible coins and mugs to $300 fibre optic Letterman jackets that lit up with the Light Magic logo. There were also limited edition watches and other commemorative items, all designed to capitalise on the same merchandising success seen during the farewell season of the Main Street Electrical Parade. To further build excitement, Disneyland's Special Events Office organised an exclusive premiere night for annual pass holders. For $25 per person, attendees gained access to a private after-hours event on May 13, 1997, a full 10 days before Light Magic's official debut. To make the event even more enticing, exclusive merchandise was created for the evening. Guests could purchase special timepieces or limited edition lithographs, only available at the premiere, all emblazoned with the May 13th date. As the debut of Light Magic approached, it became evident the ambitious Street-tacular was behind schedule. The 4 massive rolling stages, central to the show's concept, were incomplete just weeks before the premiere, creating significant challenges for the production team. A key factor in these delays may have been the late delivery of design plans and storyboards to Lazarus Lighting Design, the company tasked with constructing the floats and integrating their intricate fibre optic lighting systems. According to some accounts, these documents were not provided until late February 1997, leaving Lazarus with only a few months to deliver the finished floats. Regardless of the underlying reasons, relations between Disneyland Entertainment and Lazarus reportedly became strained, leading to the company's departure from the project in mid-March. With the floats still unfinished and the deadline rapidly approaching, Disneyland Entertainment turned to Walt Disney Imagineering for assistance. The Imagineers worked to complete the fibre optic installations and develop the programmable illuminators needed for the elaborate lighting effects. Meanwhile, rehearsals for Light Magic were severely hampered. With the floats unavailable for much of the preparation period, cast members had limited opportunities to familiarise themselves with the staging or to practice with the full-scale set pieces. Ongoing technical issues with lighting and sound systems added to the mounting difficulties, leaving the production in a precarious state just weeks before its debut. Despite these challenges, Disneyland management remained committed to the previously announced schedule. With merchandise already produced, marketing campaigns in full swing, and the high-profile annual passholder preview event set for May 13th, delaying the premiere was not an option. The entertainment team worked tirelessly to bring the show to completion, but as May 13th approached, unresolved technical issues and a lack of fully completed rehearsals left the production struggling to meet its ambitious vision. The evening of May 13th, 1997, marked what Disney billed as the world premiere of Light Magic. A highly anticipated hard-ticket event reserved exclusively for Disneyland's annual pass holders. Priced at $25 per ticket, the party promised attendees an unforgettable sneak peek into Disneyland's future alongside a showcase of its new Street-tacular. The event was more than just a preview. Guests were treated to interactive displays, including Disney's C2C, which offered a glimpse at upcoming Disney projects around the globe. Attendees also got a behind-the-scenes look at the under-construction new Tomorrowland, offering a preview of the area's renovation. To commemorate the evening, themed memorabilia was available to purchase, most created exclusively for the night. Excitement was high as attendees gathered along Main Street USA for the grand debut. But just before the show began, then Disneyland President Paul Pressler addressed the crowd. In a move that would set the tone for the evening, he announced that what pass holders were about to witness wasn't a polished performance, but a dress rehearsal. While he framed this as an exclusive behind-the-scenes opportunity, many in the crowd were less than thrilled. They had paid for a premiere, not a practice run. As the show began, technical issues became impossible to ignore. Several floats struggled to align correctly, delaying their start positions. The intricate fibre optic lighting, one of the show's marquee features, was incomplete and failed to perform as intended. Compounding the chaos, performers, who had limited rehearsal time with the floats, struggled with the choreography, especially the Irish step dancing routines that were designed for the narrow moving stages. Perhaps the largest glitch occurred as the rolling stages arrived on Main Street. A miscommunication between the float's onboard computers caused the Celtic-themed introduction music to loop endlessly for over 8 minutes. Eventually, technicians were able to reboot the system, but by that point, the damage was done. As the performance limped forward, it was clear Light Magic wasn't connecting. The energy in the crowd shifted from disappointment to outright frustration. Some guests booed during the show, while others began shouting calls to bring back the electrical parade. By the time the event ended, a line of disgruntled pass holders had formed at City Hall. Complaints ranged from dissatisfaction with the technical failures to outrage over the sudden rebranding of the event as a dress rehearsal. Disney cast members quickly moved to refund ticket costs to those who requested them, a process that extended beyond that night, with guests mailing in stubs for reimbursement. Though the internet was still in its infancy, Disneyland fans quickly turned to discussion boards and news groups to share their experiences. While most reviews were negative, calling the show a disappointment at best, a handful of attendees found redeeming qualities in Light Magic. Some praised specific elements, such as the inclusion of sign language in the Dream Our Dreams theme song, performed by the Pixie characters. Still, the general consensus was that Light Magic was a flawed production, with many pointing to the sheer scale and disjointed nature of the performance. For many pass holders, the disappointment of the preview night was less about technical glitches and more about a perceived betrayal of Disneyland standards. The backlash became one of the first instances of Disney fans using the internet to widely share their dissatisfaction, a trend that would only grow in the years to come. The morning after Light Magic's Rocky Pass holder premiere, Disneyland's entertainment team began to work to remedy the show and salvage its reputation before the official debut on May 23rd. The focus was clear. Choreography needed refinement to better suit the parade route, and narration was added to clarify the story's abstract elements. Meanwhile, technicians raced to install missing fibre optics and enhance the special effects that had underwhelmed audiences. On May 17th, the Orange County Register ran an article titled Disneyland's Light Magic Fizzles. The piece quoted frustrated pass holders who described the show as amateurish and lacking any real spectacle. There's no light and there's no magic to the production, one stated. The Hope turning point came with the first of 3 private preview nights, sponsored by Vons, held on May 19th. By this time, the changes implemented by the entertainment team were starting to show results. Guests who had seen both the passholder premiere and the Vons event noted a significant improvement. There was a clear world of difference between the two performances, one attendee shared online. Even some first-time viewers offered praise, with one guest declaring the show wonderful and exceeding expectations. In the final days leading up to May 23rd, Disneyland's leadership worked to prepare not only the show, but also its employees. Cast members throughout the park were briefed on key points, ready to address inevitable guest questions about the show's predecessor, the Main Street Electrical Parade, and its replacement. Meanwhile, the media got their first look during the Vons preview on May 21st. With reporters in attendance, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Paul Pressler, Disneyland's president, addressed the press directly, calling Light Magic a work in progress and comparing its bumpy debut to the early days of the Main Street Electrical Parade. As the show's May 23rd premiere approached, the question remained, would Light Magic finally live up to its promise? On May 23, 1997, Disneyland officially debuted Light Magic, with a 2-hour television special hosted by Alex Trebek and journalist Tawny Little. The programme was a blend of live and pre-recorded segments, offering viewers a grand tour of Disneyland and the Disney Company. It showcased the park attractions, highlighted Disney's rich legacy of innovation, and even took audiences behind the scenes for a glimpse of the making of light magic. The highlight of the special, however, was the grand reveal of light magic itself. While much of the show aired live, the performance of the Light Magic Street-tacular was pre-recorded. This ensured that the broadcast captured the event in its best light, free from the technical glitches that had plagued earlier previews. As the special aired, Disneyland announced that Light Magic would begin nightly performances for the remainder of the summer season, promising guests a new kind of magic on Main Street. When Light Magic took to the streets of Disneyland, it aimed to be an ambitious immersive experience. The 14-minute show began with the floats rolling into position. Their fibre-optic details dimmed as the Pixies began to awaken. These whimsical characters performed intricate dances, gradually lighting up the floats with each movement. The atmosphere grew more vibrant as beloved Disney characters dressed in pyjamas joined the Pixies for additional dance routines. The soundtrack was an integral part of the experience, featuring Celtic-inspired reimagining of Disney classics. Familiar melodies were transformed, including a nod to the iconic Baroque hoedown. The show built to a dramatic finale. A sudden thunderstorm erupted, revealing massive projection screens within the floats. These screens displayed a montage of classic Disney film clips, interspersed with awestruck children. As the storm passed, the performance transitioned to its triumphant closing number, Dream Our Dreams. This original song was both heartfelt and uplifting, as pixie dust was sprinkled over the audience. Confetti rained down, while the float's fibre optics illuminated in dazzling patterns, extending to the surrounding buildings on Main Street. It was a finale designed to inspire and enchant, leaving guests with a sense of Disney's timeless ability to make dreams come true, but the ultimate reception of Light Magic fell short. As Light Magic entered its summer season, Disneyland hoped the Street-tacular would resonate with guests. Unfortunately, the reception remained lukewarm at best. Visitors were confused, dissatisfied, and even disappointed, an atmosphere far removed from the magic Disney had intended. A key issue was the story, or lack thereof. Many guests struggled to understand the narrative. Who were these pixie characters and why were they here? Why were Disney characters dressed in bedtime attire? The original concept for Light Magic included an elaborate pre-show featuring roaming actors as pixie hunters who would explain the storyline. These were to describe how perfect conditions that evening had opened a magical gateway to the Pixies' world. These actors would then rush off to wake Mickey and friends to ensure they didn't miss the spectacle. While briefly covered in the television special, this vital setup was cut due to budget constraints, leaving guests with no context for the show they were about to witness. Adding to the problems, the Pixie performers themselves unsettled some younger children. Their half-masks, depicting pointed ears, upturned noses and rounded cheeks, often frightened kids rather than enchanting them. Invitations to join the performance were sometimes met with reluctance, as children shied away from the appearance of the Pixies. Another source of dissatisfaction stemmed from expectations. Light Magic was billed as the successor to the Main Street Electrical Parade, yet it was anything but a traditional parade. Guests accustomed to floats continuously moving down the route were dismayed to find that Light Magic relied on stationary performances. Only those standing or sitting in specific viewing areas could fully appreciate the show. Guests seated curbside had an up-close view, but often missed the broader spectacle, while others were left with obstructed or limited perspectives. The massive floats designed to dazzle with the size and scale seemed to dwarf Main Street. Public reaction to Light Magic was decidedly mixed. Media outlets didn't hold back in their critiques. The Long Beach Press-Telegram noted that it debuted to overflow crowds and a lukewarm reception. The Los Angeles Times later labelled it the $20 million dud, while the Orange County Register observed it failed to attract much of a following. On September 1, 1997, just a few months after its official debut, Light Magic was quietly retired. Officially, Disneyland claimed the Street-tacular was going on hiatus until the year 2000, but it never returned. For the summer of 1998, the park repurposed the lighting installed for Light Magic to enhance the Mulan Parade, allowing it to serve as both daytime and nighttime entertainment. As the millennium came and went, light magic never returned to Disneyland. Despite the show's initial promise, its place in history was set as one of the park's most ambitious, yet ill-fated entertainment offerings. When the park declared the Main Street Electrical Parade would be glowing away forever, many thought it marked the end of nighttime parades at Disneyland. But just a few years later, in 2001, the beloved Main Street Electrical Parade made a surprising comeback. Not at Disneyland, but across the Esplanade at Disney California Adventure. Renamed Disney's Electrical Parade and marketed as a California classic, the parade was brought back to help bolster attendance at the fledgling park, which had struggled to meet expectations after its opening. The parade delighted guests once again and remained a feature of Disney California Adventure until 2010. Nighttime parades returned to Disneyland Park in 2015, with the debut of Paint the Night as part of the resort's Diamond celebration. This spectacular modern reimagining of the electrical parade featured over 1.5 million LED lights, breathtaking special effects, and a team of 76 performers. Paying homage to its predecessor, Paint the Night included a familiar opening announcement and brought a new level of energy to Disneyland's after-dark entertainment. Some remnants of light magic still linger at the park. The terraced areas near It's a Small World, originally designed for viewing the Street-tacular, continue to offer prime spots for parade viewing. Meanwhile, the lighting towers installed for light magic remain in use today, providing support for parades and projection shows that light up the park. And in an unexpected twist, part of Light Magic's soundtrack found a new life overseas. In 2013, Disneyland Paris incorporated its music into a special St. Patrick's Day fireworks display. Though light magic is remembered as a rare misstep for Disneyland, its influence can still be seen in the park's ongoing commitment to evolving nighttime entertainment. It serves as a reminder that in the kingdom of magic, not every experiment is destined to succeed, but every one leaves a mark.